Good evening, everyone. My name is Zenya Wadwani, and I am the Director of Community Resources with the Social Development Division at the City of Toronto. Welcoming you all here this evening for an information session and community conversation about all things FIFA, particularly to Ward 10. I do want to just make sure there are a number of people who signed up for this evening, so we're going to hang tight for about a minute or two more just to make sure we've got everybody in the room who wanted to be here. And of course, all of our presenters are going to be ready to go. So let's just hang tight for a second and I'll be right back. All right, folks, thanks so much for your patience. Once again, my name is Zenya Wadwani. I am the Director of Community Resources with the Social Development Division at the City of Toronto, and I am pleased to be your host and moderator for this evening's information session on all things FIFA, very much focused in on Ward 10, Spadina, Fort York. So we have a number of folks here who are going to be presenting a lot of information to you today, but let us start off in a good way, as we like to do at the city, and we'll start off with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. The City of Toronto acknowledges all treaty peoples, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants either in this generation or in generations past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. I want to thank you for making the time to be here this evening, to listen in and hear a lot of information. We have a number of things that are sort of in play for this evening's session. So just want to go over a few of them. The microphones will remain off. We do have a number of presenters, as I mentioned. Cameras will also remain off in order to primarily support technology and bandwidth capabilities. And if you are experiencing any technical difficulties, however, please do. There is a Q&A. If you look at the top of your screen, there's a little icon with a bubble and a question mark in it. That's the Q&A chat. So the chat feature itself will be off, but if you're experiencing any issues, please make sure to type into the Q&A and we will do our very best to help you. We don't want you missing anything that we've got to share this evening. So as I mentioned, the chat function is off, but any questions that you may have, because we've got a fair amount of information to share, we ask that you either hold your questions to the end or feel free to type them in the chat as you're thinking about them. We've got a crew here behind who is looking through all of the questions. They're going to group similar questions. They're going to be able to bring those up at the end, and we're going to do our best to answer them. And we're hoping that as the information is coming along, your question might already be answered. But like I said, folks here will be looking at all of those questions, grouping them, and then we will have a full Q&A session for the second half of today's time together. And we'll do that. I'm wondering if I'm not missing anything. I think I'm going to get us going through the presentation, but I always like to start things off in a good way. Let's go back. Let's do a little bit of something fun. And again, maybe we'll temporarily allow the chat to hop in just for folks to answer this. We threw this out to our colleagues the other day to say, if you had to choose one group to win based on their culinary delicacies, which group would you choose? And I just want to get a thumbs up from my team that our chat is open for people to put their answers in. I think it is. So if you look at it, I had a really hard time answering this. This was a tough one for me, I have to be honest. But if you had to choose just one of these groups to win based on their culinary delicacies, which one would you choose? So this is the way the groups are going on. I'm seeing a few answers come in. K, A, oh, K, another one. Oh, lots of A's and K's. Okay, that's good. I see an F. All right. That is good. The answers are coming in. People are having opinions about food, which is always a great way to kick things off. So keep your answers coming in. But with that, I'm going to get us right into the heart of our session here today. We have a fair amount of content. We are going to have opening remarks by Deputy Mayor Malik, who you know well. We're going to do a quick overview. We know for some of you, this is the first time that you are attending a session, so we just want to give you a little bit of a background. For those of you who have been here before, we won't repeat too much. We want to give you as much new information as we possibly can. We're going to spend a good amount of time on our mobility plan because we know that that is a hot topic in this neighborhood and you've been asking questions and we want to be able to answer them for you. That includes also some information from the TTC. We'll have an update from our solid waste team. We have some information from our municipal licensing and standards team. We also want to talk about really a lot of the fun celebrations and activations happening in the neighborhood. And so we've got an update there, as well as what continuing engagement and communications looks like. And then, of course, a solid amount of time to be able to answer your questions. Okay, with that, let us move right over to Deputy Mayor Malik, please. We'll have you put your screen on front and center and have you take over from here.
Thank you. I just noticed that there's a question in the chat where someone's saying that they aren't not able to see the screen. So just any troubleshooting on that folks can provide in the Q&A. That's great. Thank you so much, Senia, for kicking us off. And good evening, everyone. My name's Asma Malik. I'm very proud to be Toronto's Deputy Mayor and so proud to be the City Councillor in Spadina Fort York Ward 10, home of where we will be hosting the FIFA World Cup Games and our Fan Fest this year coming up very shortly. I want to thank all the city staff and our agencies and partners for the work to prepare for this meeting, for Xenia for facilitating, and most of all for you all for being here. Over the past year, I've had many conversations with you about our neighborhoods, the future of development, growth, traffic, the things that we love about our neighborhoods, and also many conversations about what we can anticipate and how we're planning well for the FIFA World Cup. We've met at local events, at condo lobbies, at local businesses, and that has been a really important part of our conversation. And with 65 days to go until the first match, city staff are working with full speed and momentum to get our World Cup preparations continue to be refined and communicated well to you. And each time that we come together here, that is an opportunity to get your input and reflect back in the plans, the improvements that we see to make them as effective as possible. As the local councillor, I know that the impact of the games will be felt most in the neighborhoods around the stadium and around FanFest. And it has been my priority to ensure that you have all the information to, first of all, catch the excitement of the games. And secondly, to make sure that you can navigate our neighborhood reliably and safely. And most of all, to be able to make the decisions and choices for yourself that are the most well-informed. And last year, I pushed forward the creation of a dedicated World Cup neighborhood planning table that is internal to the city divisions and agencies with the goal of having clear transportation, event management, and public engagement plans so that our local communities, particularly in Fort York, Liberty Village, and we know that the experience will also be in the broader downtown as well, are well prepared for the games, and that we do experience community improvements before, during, and after the games as well. I've worked to ensure that there are dedicated city resources to support communication and problem solving in the lead up to the games, and I'm thankful for the work that that has been kicked off with city staff, particularly with Richard Kerwin, who you will meet tonight. And I'm looking forward to having more dedicated outreach with you in the community, in and with your buildings, as we continue to distribute and share more of these detailed plans so that you can make those important choices. This meeting is the third in a series that will be bringing our community together to share the information, again, to share the plans as they are being refined and finalized. We are working closely in these games with FIFA, and they do have requirements that do guide many of the timelines that the city has to abide by. So as soon as we are getting that information, to be able to share it back out with you. And I wanted you to have the chance to hear these plans from city staff who are delivering them, and for them to hear from you to make sure that your expertise as residents, as local businesses, as workers in the area are reflected back in our planning. And tonight we will have the feature presentation of the city's mobility plan. And as Enia said, this has been a top priority in the conversations that we've had and in the sessions previously, our public information sessions and also conversations in our community about how we will move through and around the neighborhood, what you have to be prepared for, and how local access will be managed. In addition, we'll also hear more about the solid waste management, the cleaning strategy, the cleanliness and pride in our neighborhood. We'll also hear from municipal licensing and standards around oversight for our neighborhoods, safety planning as always, and the ways that our community is being supported and invited to be part of those celebrations and those legacy improvements. And then hearing your questions, your input is so critical. In my discussions with many of you and in our neighborhood since this planning began, I've heard many questions about how we get in and out of the neighborhood reliably, and how crowds will be managed, how we keep the neighborhood clean. And thanks to our neighborhood focused planning, I hope that in the presentations you see answers to those questions and your feedback continue to be reflected. I'm looking forward to hearing from you tonight to see how you're receiving the information and the presentations and how we continue to stay connected with two and a bit months to go. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back to Xenia.
Thanks so much, Deputy Mayor Malik. Always love having your champion in here for the residents, and that's what we're here to answer for you today. I did want to answer, I think there was a question about the materials from today, and just wanted to reiterate that this deck will be shared with those who have registered for the event and who are in attendance. It'll take us a couple of days just to get it all sorted out and sent over, but we will absolutely be sharing the information with you. Okay, and with that, I'm going to ask Sharon to come on.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Xenia. Appreciate everyone joining the meeting tonight. Some of you may have been at our previous sessions, so we welcome you back and to hear some of the new updates that we have. And for those of you who haven't attended a previous session, welcome. And thank you for your interest and for your participation in this meeting tonight by attending and putting forward any questions that you may have about our plans. I am the Executive Director of the FIFA Secretariat at the City of Toronto, and working with a great team of people within the Secretariat and across the city to plan and deliver the World Cup in Toronto. So a couple of first very high level things related to the World Cup. This is the largest version of the World Cup ever being happening across 3 countries, across 16 host cities. We're hosting along with the United States and Mexico. Our co-host here in Canada, there are 2 host cities for Canada, and our co-host is Vancouver. So we're very pleased to be working with colleagues on the West Coast as our 2 cities get an opportunity to shine on this international stage. The World Cup will be happening, as Deputy Mayor Malik said, in a few short weeks. It's not that long away now. The first match will be on June 11th, and the final will be on July 19th. So those are the dates of the tournament, and we'll be going through the dates of our actual matches coming up in a short while. We are hosting 6 matches in Toronto. We will have a global audience. This is an amazing opportunity for our city to shine on a global stage. It's expected that over 3 million plus people will tune in to the opening match that will happen in Toronto on June 12th. And feature our Canadian men's team. So we're very excited about that opportunity, and we want to make sure that we put our best foot forward as a city. Our theme for the World Cup, while everyone is here and visiting, is the world in a city. And we feel that that truly represents who Toronto is. As you all are very well aware, we have a diverse city that's vibrant, made up of many, many neighborhoods that represent many different cultural backgrounds. And so we're excited to share that. We are one of the most diverse cities in the world, and certainly out of the 16 host cities. And we're excited to share that diversity and with the people visiting here and with all residents of Toronto as we celebrate the World Cup. We will be hosting a fan festival. It will be happening at Fort York and the Bentway. We intend to operate out of those tournament dates that I mentioned. We intend to operate Fan Festival for 22 days. It will be sort of a central place for people to come and celebrate soccer, football, whatever term you prefer. It'll be the central place for people to come and gather, to watch live broadcasts of matches, and not just those taking place in Toronto, but matches that are taking place in one of the other 15 host cities throughout the tournament. We will be leaning into our theme, The World in a City, and showcasing cultural performances through live music and interactive art, activations that people can take part of and come in and have fun. It will be family friendly, and there'll be lots of food and beverages that people can enjoy while they're enjoying watching the matches and the entertainment that we will be sharing with everyone. We intend to put out more details on FanFest very soon. In fact, in the next 1 to 2 weeks, there'll be lots more information coming out about Fan Festival, including the specific days that we're operating and some of the programming elements that have been secured thus far. So more information coming. I know everyone's anxious to learn more about Fan Festival, and we're excited to share it with you. And we'll be sharing that, as I say, in the very short term, so that you have all the information you need about taking part in Fan Festival as well. Of course, our matches are happening at Toronto Stadium, which is located on Exhibition Place grounds. It's the first ever soccer stadium built in Toronto. We have done, you've all been seeing probably the work that's been happening at the stadium. And a week and a half ago, we did a media unveil to communicate all of the renovations and upgrades that have happened at the stadium to prepare for the World Cup. So a few of those include temporary seating. The current capacity of the stadium is around 28,000. And to meet minimum FIFA requirements for a World Cup host, we've had to up that to 45,000. So we've added temporary seating at both the north and south, and you'll see that now. We're almost ready to go and unveil that and have folks use that in some of the matches that are coming up with TFC. And so we're excited to sort of be open for business and welcoming new spectators to come and watch some matches as we have some test events through TFC matches to test some of the things that are in the facility. We've also put in 4 new video boards. We've improved concessions and concourse areas, upgraded the Wi-Fi. There's new LED lighting and new audio system, all to improve the fan experience. And to be broadcast ready for, being broadcast on a global stage with all the media interest. So there's a number of items here. As I mentioned, the seating is temporary, the temporary seating, but we have added a number of elements that are permanent and will be staying as a legacy of this event to improve the fan experience long after the World Cup is over. And
Thanks
with
so much.
that, I will turn it over to the folks. Back to you, Xenia. Sorry.
No, all good, Sharon. Thank you so much. Let's just hand it right over to Mike.
Great, thanks, Xenia. Great to be with you all. I'm going to jump right into our mobility plan, which was presented at committee last week. One of the first things I want to talk about is what we call travel demand management. And really the focus here is on, we know that it's a congested city. We know how long it can take sometimes to move from place to place. One of the biggest things that we can all do is look at how can we change our travel patterns, especially on match days. And so our target is to reduce what we call background demand by approximately 30%. And this is something that we've seen is achievable in previous large events. So how do we do this? We do this by promoting transit first. And we've talked about that in the past. We will talk about it some more tonight. TTC will also be speaking to this as well. Again, how can we use active transportation methods? Again, trying to change behaviors in terms of how things will change, especially on match days related to availability of parking. How can we influence how people travel with providing dynamic messaging on changing travel conditions? And consider how people move in and around the area, especially during peak times, especially in relation to those game times and the lead up and the egress from matches. And then how can we also, reduce our trips? How can we, change where we work from potentially, again, to just help us out on those match days. Next slide, please. So this is where I really want to kind of get into some of the changes that we will be seeing in both Liberty Village and Fort York. Some of these changes you're going to be seeing on match days, and some of these changes will be for longer duration, for the duration of the games period. So if you zoom in and look at the Fort York area, some of the changes that we're going to start to see are going to be some closures on Fleet Street, on that western portion of Fleet Street. What we will be doing is we will be building a temporary TTC platform that's going to allow for access of streetcars to be a major hub for the game days. Because for game days, we will not be able to access the exhibition loop. So that's going to necessitate that closure and building of the Fleet Street platform. We are also going to be closing off Fort York as local, what we're calling local access only for the duration of the period, of the games period. Again, because we know that it'll be more congested in and around the fan festival area. And so we want to reserve that space for the local residents. Up in the top left, you're going to see in and around the Liberty Village area, those will be local access only areas on match days. And so we'll get to sort of some of the measures we're going to put in place on match days in a little bit, but those will be local access only on match days. And so we've kind of highlighted those in yellow. And now I want to talk a little bit more about some of the closures you're going to see specifically on match days. So Lakeshore Boulevard will be closed from British Columbia to Bathurst on match days from 5 hours before match time until 3 hours after match time. We're going to also see closures on Strawn Avenue from East Liberty down to Lakeshore. And finally, we're going to see closures on Dufferin south of Springhurst, again on match days from 5 hours prior until 3 hours after. We're also going to see Manitoba Drive full closure on match days, again from 5 hours prior until 3 hours plus with authorized vehicle access only. I will say that for these closures for Strawn and Dufferin, those will provide access for TTC vehicles. Okay, so there's a lot in this slide. I wanted to spend some time for people to have a chance to take a look at this, but these are going to be the major impacts for community and how we sort of allow for people to kind of access people who need to be there, who like residents for local access, and we'll get to sort of how that's going to be administered in a few slides down the road. Okay, next slide, please. This is just sort of another blow up, and we kind of broken up these slides. It's sort of a reiteration of what I've already talked about, but it really breaks things down to see, what happens, in a bit more visually pleasing way. And this is for kind of what's happening for the duration of tournaments time. And then the next slide you'll see is sort of what happens again on those match days. Okay. And again, we've got the match days sort of identified here on the slides. Next slide, please.
Mike, can I just interrupt for 1 second? I noticed that a few people have put their hands up and maybe they've joined us late. If you could please put your questions into the Q&A icon. If you look at the top of your screen, you'll see a little bubble there that says Q&A. Type your questions in there, and we're going to be answering all of the questions at the end. Sorry about that, Mike.
Thanks, Zenia. Okay. Okay, so I want to spend a little bit of time now talking about what else we're doing to we've said it's a traffic first approach. So what are we doing to help facilitate transit, that transit first approach? So a couple of the key factors that we've taken is some additional restrictions that we're putting in place. So you're going to see for the game's duration, you're going to see additional restrictions on some of the key transit corridors like King, Dundas, Dufferin, Bathurst, where we're going to be implementing additional no stopping, no parking, no standing restrictions. Many of these locations already have these measures in place, but we'll be increasing the duration of those. So whereas, you may see some that are in place for, the AM peak and the PM peak, we'll be putting these in place for longer periods of the day to account for the durations and the match times, which are variable between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. You're going to see a lot more traffic agents at key locations, and that will complement presence by Toronto Police, especially on those match days where we're going to be out in greater numbers than we would normally see, even for example, the CNE. We are going to be putting in place additional signal adjustments, both that we would normally do to support CNE, but we will also be putting in place in real-time signal adjustments where we see conditions changing and where we need to provide more green time in certain directions. We can do this in real time, especially during the key ingress periods and the key egress periods. We're also going to be looking at how we can take what we've learned from the improvements we've made on Line 5 and Line 6 on transit signal priority for Eglinton and Finch West. And we're going to start to look at how we can apply those for some of the key streetcar routes so that we can, again, provide better priority for the transit corridors. Next slide, please. Okay. And again, additional things that we're putting in place to support the increased traffic. We've added some new traffic cameras, specifically in Liberty Village. We've added 3 at Strawn, East Liberty, Strawn and Wellington, and Dufferin and East Liberty. And that is in addition to a number of additional cameras we're putting in place. I think 20 new traffic cameras that we will be using to monitor conditions in real time, and again, either redeploy resources or make signal timing adjustments where necessary. We're also putting a pause on major construction in and around the Liberty Village area, Fort York area, but also on some of the key corridors. Again, we just want to make the best usage of the traveled lanes that we have available, and we don't want to be blocking those off with construction. I know one of the key questions has been about, the major Ontario line work, and we will be pausing construction activities on match days for the Metrolinx work. Okay, next slide, please. And then again, this is just sort of hearing back and following up on some of the comments and questions we received from our last community engagement. Rideshare impacts. There will be some rideshare impacts on match days. So, and we'll be getting to sort of pick up and drop off locations on match days. There was questions about school buses and how we can facilitate school bus movements. So school buses, although we will have local access only, school buses will be allowed into the area even though they have local access area only. So that has been addressed. How can we, move around pedestrians and cyclists, especially where we have closed roads? Again, where we have closed roads, there still will be pedestrian and cyclist access. Although there may be situations and police will be assisting where, there's just too many pedestrians to allow for cyclists to continue on their bikes. And so they may be asked to dismount where we've got a high volume of pedestrians. There was also previously questions about Lamport Stadium and whether it's available on non-match days. And yes, that's our approach, is that Lamport Stadium is only going to be kind of used for the pickup and drop off locations on match days. And so other non-match days, we expect it would be available for use. And then towing enforcement. And again, this is something that we work through with Toronto Police on, we're putting in place all these restrictions. How do we make sure that those are being enforced? And so Working with Toronto Police, we will be addressing people who are, either entering the areas that they shouldn't be, or where they're parking illegally or stopping illegally. We will be having, enforcement activities out there to, address those situations. Okay. I'm going to turn this over to my colleague Richard, who's going to talk a little bit more about local access only, because I know this is something we've been asked about and we've given some good thought to.
Good evening, everyone. So during match days, many streets in Liberty Village and Fort York will be restricted to local access only. Residents will be eligible to receive a local access permit, which will facilitate easy access into these areas. Police will be given guidance on looking for these resident permits as vehicles approach these areas. So they'll look something similar to what is in the video here. They'll hang, or sorry, in the slide, they'll hang on your mirror, and it'll be, I believe they're going to be a bright red, kind of a bright color, so that the police can see that, and there shouldn't be any issues in letting you into the local access only areas. And these are not parking permits, just to be clear, and will not entitle those with parking with permits to park. Next slide. So looking at how we make sure that we access pass distribution and how that process will look. So utilizing BIAs and BIA leadership will identify how many are needed. Passes will be given to BIA for distribution. Connecting with condo property manager distribution. Property manager will identify how many are needed based on parking spots, primary distribution channels due to density of residential buildings, allow for rapid large-scale distribution. Part of this whole process, we do know that there might be more than one vehicle in the household, so we'll make sure that we have those conversations and that those are properly communicated to the community as well. And then the third one is community pickup hubs. So establishing physical pickup locations, those will be to be determined. Ensuring access for residents not connected to condos or BIAs. And then looking at targeted outreach, dedicated allocation for community agencies, shelters, and supportive housing, youth serving organizations. We know that there has been the PSWs that do go into the community from organizations, so we want to make sure that they have access as well. So that's going to be part of that targeted outreach approach. And then we're looking at the distribution of passes May 20th to about June 5th. And the reason why we've kind of pushed this back is we want to make sure that there is that everyone can get passes in time, but we also don't want to give them too early. Not that anyone would photocopy them or try to mimic them, but we want to make sure that we're mitigating some of those issues. If anyone does want to do that, we want to make sure that they kind of don't have time to do that. So I'll pass it back to you, Mike.
Great. Thanks a lot, Richard. Okay, so just want to spend one more map to go through with everyone. And this map here really speaks to where we are going to be focusing bike parking, pickup and drop off for rideshare and taxis, as well as where we're focusing on some of our key cycling routes, our pedestrian routes, both to the Fan Fest and the stadium. So we've got some color codings that you can see in the legend down at the bottom left. So the green is our pedestrian routes to Fan Fest that we're advertising. The sort of yellow color would be the pedestrian routes to the stadium. And these are kind of coming from our key transit locations and hubs. We've got our pickup drop-off and ride-hail locations. So again, I've talked about Lamport Stadium. That will be in place for match day only, whereas the Douro rideshare and the Front and Bathurst rideshare, those will be in place for the duration. And again, to kind of consider the fact that the Fort York area will be local access only for the duration. And again, we've kind of denoted some of these key transit hubs at Dufferin Gate, at Exhibition Go, Fleet Street, and 511 Bathurst. And then you can sort of see where these venue footprints are for both the exhibition place and as well around FIFA Fan Fest. So I hope that answers some of the questions. I should also point out the bike parking, Hannah Ordnance Park and Inukshuk Park. And again, we expect to have additional and enhanced bike parking availability, both for bike share as well as for people who have their own personal bikes. We will have a valet service in place, so that one of the things that we always hear about is that, I show up at a location, I've used a bike share, or I've got my bike, and now, because it's so popular, there's no place to, park the bike, or, for bike share to return it. So we will have additional staff and, bike parking locations so that we can handle the increased demand. Okay, next slide, please. And I'm going to turn it over to Nadia to go through some of the signage and wayfinding.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again this evening. As we are seeing with some of the questions that are coming through, and respecting that, of course, this area is going to be heavily trafficked in terms of people coming down to the area and the excitement that's going to happen, we do want to assure you that we do have a comprehensive signage and wayfinding program that will help us ensure that we're able to directionally offer guests, residents, visitors an opportunity to understand how to move around this area, where to go and access, starting further out and drawing them closer to, such that ideally they are not inadvertently ending up in areas that make it more complicated for them to arrive at FIFA Fan Festival or the stadium, and or for them to be in your local neighborhoods, other than, of course, we want to make sure that they are enjoying the various businesses and community opportunities that are there. So what you're seeing here are a variety of the directional signage that we will have across this downtown core and right in within this footprint that will help us do all of these allow for the messaging. This, of course, is supported if we continue to move forward harsh with the presentation deck. This will also be supported with additional dressing and signage that will be placed along the various corridors, whether it's for biking, for walking, and the access via, of course, our various TTC and Metrolinx transit hubs. This will then be further supported through live wayfinding of all of the various volunteers and, of course, our transit partner personnel that will be on the ground. If we continue to move forward, there are a high number of these. In total, there are close to 900 different signs that will help individuals navigate their access to the downtown core. We are using, of course, signage that already exists. We're making sure that there is no confusion in the area. So, of course, what you're seeing here are existing signs that BMO Field would have been listed, where we are now putting up Toronto Stadium. The good news with this effort is that it will be also mimicked within any of our existing maps. We are producing, in fact, even a specialized getting around guide that will be available for mass distribution, both digitally and in print. And then, of course, through partnerships with Google, we will ensure that the digital platforms are also updated so that anyone looking for these areas has very specific line of sight, digitally speaking, that focus on the way our transit first approach is connecting everyone together. The last two slides that we'll quickly show you, of course, is that in relation to obviously ensuring that people know how to get to their locations and be excited and a part of the fandom that is happening, we will also have various dressing signage. And so, of course, you're seeing here some of the banners. We have over 2,000 pieces of artwork that will be throughout the city, including in communities outside of this downtown core, but really making sure that the city, you as residents and the visitors coming in understand a connection to the FIFA World Cup. And so this last slide, again, just sort of shows where we will have opportunity to really play up the fact that we are a host city. We are proud to be able to do this all together, and that with the connections through the various digital and print opportunities of how people can navigate the city through our wayfinding and signage, that this will be something that won't feel quite as overwhelming as perhaps some are envisioning. And I will turn it back to the next speaker at this point. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Nadia. So just to wrap up the transportation piece of this, and I know I've gone through this really quickly, but this is sort of the path forward at this point in time. Next week, this plan will be coming forward to Executive Committee, and TTC will also be bringing forward their plan next week as well. And finally, the mobility plan will go to City Council April 22nd to 24th. We will continue to provide additional information that will be rolling out starting in May. and into the tournament time in June and July. So I know there's lots of questions that have been added to the chat already, or to the Q&A, I should say. Please keep them coming. We will get to them later on in tonight's presentation, but I wanted to allow lots of time for other presenters. So thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Much appreciated for all of that. Just a reminder to the folks who have their hands up, please put your questions in the Q&A area. We will be addressing those towards the end. Now I'm going to turn it over to Michael with TTC.
So thanks, Anya. It's actually going to be Cameron Penman.
Oh,
I'm from the Toronto Transit Commission.
thanks, Cameron.
And yeah, no problem. I'm the program lead for FIFA World Cup 2026 for the TTC. So happy to be here tonight with you all. So just the first slide is an overview of some of the service enhancements and the highlights for FIFA World Cup 2026. 3 key corridors will have service enhancements to support the tournament. First, the 511 Bathurst. We'll have increased service frequency and streetcars running every 5 minutes, most days, most times a day, every day. And we're also converting the overnight bus service to streetcar service during the tournament period to avoid diverting the route and missing stops due to road closures. That's from June 7th till July 24th. The 509 Harbourfront route will have increased service as well, with the same 5-minute headway between streetcars most times a day, every day. And overnight streetcar service will be on a 20-minute frequency for a 5-week period between June 7th and July 12th. And lastly, the 504 King streetcar, again, 5-minute service most times of the day, every day during the tournament. And we are working with the City of Toronto and Toronto Police Services on enhancing the priority measures along that route to keep service moving. Next slide, please. Just some key highlights of community impacts, and just starting with match days, the 6 match days first. The exhibition loop, so that's along the 511 and 509 route, that will be closed to customers except those with accessibility needs. So as Mike had mentioned before, we are building a transit hub on Fleet Street between Strawn and Fort York that will have a platform. That's where our main ingress and egress point will be on the TTC at the east side. To access Toronto Stadium and as well to attend FIFA Fan Fest. So customers will disembark streetcars there. However, those customers with accessibility needs will be able to travel all the way to Exhibition Loop. Because of that, the Manitoba Street stop and the Strawn Street stop will be removed from service, again, due to that same reason. The 63 Ossington bus, right now, we are going to keep the route on the service en route. There may be some impacts with egress from games. That'll be a decision on match days for egress, but the 63 Ossington bus will remain en route for the tournament. For match days and FIFA Fan Festival days, there will be stop removals when necessary. Again, this is just for mass egress. If there are large crowds. On the 509 and 511, all eastbound stops on Fleet Street, except for the Fleet Transit Hub, including Bathurst Street, will be removed if there is a mass egress, just to keep the streetcars moving eastbound. As well on the 511 northbound on Bathurst at Fort York and Niagara, those will be removed and they will go back in service at King. And the 509, just to highlight what I said earlier, the eastbound stop at Queens Quay and Bathurst would be out of service and would go back in service at Dan Leckie Way. Just one final note from June 7th to July 24th. The 510 Spadina streetcars will not serve Union Station for the duration of that period. They will turn back at Queens Quay. This is due to the extra service on the 509 Harbourfront along that corridor. The corridor simply can't handle the additional streetcars from the 510. So customers who are traveling towards Union Station can simply get off a 510 streetcar and connect with a 509 car, which will be running at 5-minute headways to access Union Station. Next slide, please. This is just an overview of the service plan, which will be finalized again at the board meeting next week. But the key highlights here are the 29 Dufferin. This is on match days is the most important thing to note here. There will be extra service on the 29 Dufferin, including a direct shuttle all the way to Dufferin Gate from Dufferin Station to help get customers to and from Toronto Stadium. The 511 Bathurst, as I mentioned earlier, that will have increased service throughout the tournament period to 5 minutes, and it will be one of the key routes accessing Fleet Hub. Same goes for the 509, the 5-minute headways, and one of the main routes from Union Station to access Fleet Hub. The 504 King, as I mentioned earlier, also has increased service and a 5-minute headway that can be used to exit the streetcars, at Atlantic and walk south towards Toronto Stadium as well. So we've got increased service for disembarking at Strawn or Atlantic to head down and walk towards the stadium. And just the one note again about the 510, you can see on the diagram for those who are able to see it, is turning back at Queens Quay, as I had mentioned earlier, and that's our kind of transit concept. Everything that is serving the two venues at FIFA Fan Fest and Toronto Stadium. Next slide, please. And this is just the signage and wayfinding Nadia had mentioned earlier. We will have some of the branded signage in TTC stations as well, which is helping customers get towards Toronto Stadium and FIFA Fan Festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you kindly. Let's move over to our colleagues in Solid Waste Management Services.
Yeah, next slide. Everything we're starting with myself. Oh, designed differently.
Thanks,
okay.
John.
All right. Jonathan Creddy with the FIFA Secretariat. First update to give here is on graffiti. From our last meeting that we had, we did hear from residents that graffiti is a concern. So we took that away, and we've now created a response protocol for graffiti on match days, and we worked through that through our waste management working group, and we're still iterating through it, but we do have a protocol established, which is great news. On the human waste concerns, same thing there. We took that away, and we've also established a protocol for that as well, and continue to work through that with our waste management working group. So both protocols are looking great right now. For the waste management services, we have, and we could say that we've officially executed an agreement with GFL Environmental, and their scope of work is haulage for Toronto Stadium. The road closed areas, they'll be providing full waste management support on those match days. Fleet Street corridor, which will be closed for Fan Festival days, they'll be providing full support over there as well. And at the FIFA Fan Festival, they'll be providing full support for FIFA Fan Festival. GFL is partnered, or they're partnering up with Green Event Ninja, which is also very exciting. They're a really strong team that they're fantastic when it comes to sustainability and diverting and sorting. So they'll be operating over at the Fan Festival and in those road closed areas to make sure we're doing things in a sustainable way. Portable toilet planning, we do have a plan developed. We took that feedback from the last meeting we had, and we've reached out to BIAs to get some feedback from different groups, and we do have a plan now. We took that away back to our transportation and last mile hub, which has city divisions and some external groups that have membership to look through it and see what makes the most sense. And I could say that we actually just awarded the portable toilet supplier, which is super exciting. Can't really speak about it more than that until we execute an agreement. But once we execute that agreement, we're going to sit down with them, look at the DOT plan, and just validate things. So looking great in regards to waste management right now. I'll pass it over to Stephen Diabru with the solid waste team for the city.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Diabru. I'm the manager of public space cleaning. I'm going to speak to the core public space cleaning that is planned ahead of this event, during the tournament, and after the event. The City of Toronto, we provide public space cleaning. The coverage includes sidewalks, laneways, surrounding neighborhoods, celebration corridors, and high traffic zone with pedestrians. These services will include manual cleaning, which include, can you go back? Thank you. Which includes bag and brooms to clean the sidewalks, streets, public areas, and these will be scheduled 7 days a week, up to 16 hours a day. We also will be doing manual cleaning, which is the mechanical litter vacuums that you see on your streets on a daily basis. The schedule will be 7 days a week, and it will be starting at 4 a.m. To ensure that we clean up all the mess that will be going on during the games and after the games. Fly squads, there are mobile teams for spot cleaning, emergency cleanups, litter hotspots, and will be scheduled 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. On game days, we will increase this service to 24 hours a day to ensure that the streets are put back the way they started after games. Litter bin servicing will be increased on the Astro Media cans. The litter bin service will be increased more. Enhanced services will begin prior to the games, which will be cleaning the streets, taking down posters, cleaning up the whole area. Throughout the tournament window, the enhanced cleaning will continue, and after the games, we will also conclude with cleaning up the streets and cleaning up all the areas within the tournament. Additional staff and equipment are ready to provide enhanced services, and we are ready with response capabilities, and that's it. Thank you.
Harsh, you can skip this slide here. We've spoken to this already. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. Let's move over to municipal licensing and standards. Gaddy.
Thank you. I'm Gaddy Katz, Acting Executive Director of MLS. If we could go to the first slide. So municipal licensing and standards is the city division tasked with enforcement of city bylaws, such as noise, street vending, and licensing. Our plan for FIFA is to have teams deployed throughout all the events to ensure compliance with the bylaws. We're also going to be present and coordinating with the command center on both decision making and identifying issues that require escalations and addressing those escalated complaints. Next slides, please. Our enforcement is a lot about visibility and deterrence. So we will have a lot of high visibility bike and foot patrols throughout the events to deter and to enforce bylaws, like I said, around illegal and unlicensed vendors, either non-compliant behavior. We are planning on regular proactive inspections and presence across stadiums, fan zones, also neighborhoods where gatherings may take place to ensure that bylaws are being followed. In addition to all of the proactive presence that we have planned, we're also going to continue to respond to 311 complaints from residents. So we would encourage everyone, residents and visitors, if they are observing anything that is not compliant with bylaws, to please call 311 and inform us. Next slide. Major areas of enforcement that we'll be addressing are primarily around illegal vending, vehicle for hire, such as taxis and private transportation companies, as well as noise. The intention, again, is to promote a safe, clean, well-managed event, both for residents and visitors to the city, and we'll be doing that in coordination with other divisions. And last slide. The other area that MLS is also tasked with is licensing and enforcement of short-term rentals. There are several rules, both for operators and companies to abide by, and those include advertising rules on licensing platforms, on licensed platforms, verification of registration status, as well as residence and zoning requirements under our bylaws. And again, we encourage both visitors to the city and residents of the city to inform us of any concerns about short-term rentals. There are several ways of contacting us through 311 to file complaints, Airbnb's neighborhood support line, as well as our own MLS short-term rental website, which has a lot of information both for operators as well as guests. One thing I do have to note is that MLS is not an emergency responder. So we would ask that if there are any emergencies, that people do contact the appropriate authorities, such as 911, to address them.
Thanks very much, Getty. Appreciate it. Let's talk about some fun stuff. A couple of quick notes. There was a slide we realized that was missing from the deck. We're gonna pull that up at the end because we know it's an important topic, and that has to do with accessibility in the TTC. So so we'll hold tight. We'll bring that back towards the end. And I've just I did get a note from someone saying that not everybody does have access to the Q&A chat feature. So what we're going to do is we're just going to finish through the next few slides, and then we're going to open up the chat for anybody who doesn't have that, so that they can enter their questions in there, and then we'll filter them in as we go through the Q&A period. Okay, let me turn it over now to Alex to talk about some community celebrations and activations.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alex. I'm going to run us through some of the community celebrations and activations that will be taking place in the area. Next slide, I'm going to start us off with this beautiful picture. This is a projection on the malting silos at the foot of Bathurst Street in Bathurst Quay Common. This is part of our program called World in a City Illuminated, and this is facing east along the waterfront. More on that in a little bit. Just run through a couple more pictures if you want to go through the slides. Next slide. Here we have some different other types of activations that will happen through the neighborhood. We have public art installations, performances and busking, large public art interactive installations, as well as buskers. And we'll get to which areas will have these activations. Next slide. One of the signature programs that we have at the City of Toronto is the Community Celebration Support Fund, and it does support local community celebrations and programming. These vibrant projects create lively hubs of activity during the tournament. Some of the local organizations, and we're going to stick mostly to the waterfront and Liberty Village and City Place Fort York. City Place and Fort York BIA, they have a large public art installation that will be activated during the period, and canoe landing park activations, including hosting historic walking tours and a public market. Liberty Village BIA will have buskers, music programming, and also some public art installations. Harbourfront Centre will be the host of Canada Soccer House, Canada House, where they will be showing Canada's soccer matches and some others. They will have large public art exhibitions and their usual music programming. Toronto Downtown West BIA, just to the north of us, will have lots of cultural programming and activations, and TIFF will hold outdoor screenings in David Pico Square. Further north, in a little more bohemian part of town, Queen Street West BIA will have live music, food, and night markets every weekend during the games period. Also along the waterfront, further east now, in the George Brown campus, will be Pride House Toronto, which will be a public viewing event location and a location for LGBTQ plus people to have a beautiful time. Next slide, please. Some of the legacy projects that will be taking place in the area, and these will be projects that will have a longer lasting effect in the area. One of the main ones is the Under the Gardner intersections by the Bentway. This will be at Dan Leckie Way and also at Bathurst. So if you've seen the intersections presently, they will be souped up, leveled up for the games with lighting, new coats of paint, and some stylish design by the Bentway. Similar to the rendering we have here. The World in a City Illuminated, there will be projection mapping on the malting silos. There will also be a market there as well that is hosted by the Waterfront BIA and Street Eats Toronto, happening at the same time, and that'll be over 16 days during match days as well as the weekends. Another thing a little further away is a pitch in the city at Nathan Phillips Square. These are two mini pitches that'll be in the rink where the reflection pool is, and those will be activated by the city and our parks friends, and you will be able to book them for matches at City Hall. And that's it for the community activations in the area. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Richard?
Hi, everyone. So just want to go through some of the ongoing engagement with Liberty Village and Fort York. My name is Richard Kerwin. I'm a social development officer supporting Ward 10 with a focus on Liberty Village and Fort York, working closely with Deputy Mayor Osman Malik's office and the FIFA World Cup 2026 Toronto Secretariat to support community engagement and info sharing. Yep. So some of the key dates. So the next community engagement session will be May 25th, 2026. We kind of, that was in the last meeting, we did say it was going to be a little earlier, but we wanted it a little bit closer to the game so that we could have that finalized information for everyone within that meeting. And then there's going to be a BIA small business engagement on April 14th. So similar to this engagement that we're having here, but it will be geared towards businesses with a lot of the same information, but just with a little bit of a business spin on it. Next slide. So staying informed, so timely, relevant updates to be shared. We want to make sure that I'm able to connect with everyone or the majority of people and share that either through the Deputy Mayor's office or through the City of Toronto from the Secretariat, and utilizing some of those channels that we talked about with the local only pass, utilizing those channels to make sure that we're informed. Also outreach via resident association, condo boards, property management, leadership, and BIAs. So really looking at hopefully getting QR codes within the buildings so that we can, you know, when you're in the elevator, you can scan your QR code and it'll send you or it will bring you to a page that will have all the information so that we can make sure that everyone is updated. And looking at flyers, social media toolkits, e-newsletters, and elevator signage, as I spoke to. The Deputy Mayor Malik's office has a great newsletter. If you're not signed up, it's something that you should definitely get signed up for because that's where a lot of this information lies. Next slide.
Okay, so I think that we wanted to bring up, Richard, I'm going to ask you to bring up that slide that got missed so we can speak to that. And perhaps if at the same time we could open up the chat for those folks who don't have access to the Q&A area. And maybe I will just quickly just remind folks, especially if you joined us after the beginning when we sort of went over some of this stuff, what we are going to do is we've got colleagues here who are looking at all the questions that have come in. A number of them are duplicative in nature, and so we're trying to group them all together so that we can answer all the questions as best that we can. We're going to offer that time so you can keep putting in your questions and we will keep grouping them together and hopefully be able to answer them. We're going to do our best to get to all of them. On the chance that we are unable to get to your question, please do not fear. We will follow up with you individually to see if we can share that information with you at some point if we don't have it with us at the moment. And if we don't, we might just even be able to let you know that as well. There are a number of people colleagues who are also who have joined us who have not presented but are able to answer questions. So no matter what your question is, even if it wasn't related to the topics that you saw on the screen, we may have a representative here who can answer that for you. And if not, we take it away and we take it as part of our homework and we come back to you with those answers. And just also another friendly reminder that this deck will be shared with all of those who registered for this evening's info session. Okay, I'm going to pause and allow
and Xenia,
yeah.
Sorry, Xenia, I just wanted to apologize. This is my fault. This slide got left out. And the TTC, Cameron and his team had this slide in there. So we're just going to do it now. And my apologies for leaving this slide out, Cameron.
No worries. Thank you, Richard. So yeah, this is a very important slide I wanted to make sure to speak to. And I just wanted to make one point of clarity as well, because I think I saw it in the QA. The 63 Ossington bus will remain en route for the entirety of the tournament. So it will service Liberty Village. There is a chance that on match days for egress, that Strawn may have to be closed from East Liberty up to King. In that case, there will be a diversion in place, but we will obviously let everyone know and get that out at that time. But it will still serve Liberty Village on the western end of Liberty Village during that time if that takes place. Accessibility, a big part of this for us. Just before I get into this, I just want to let everyone know that Wheel-Trans will maintain service throughout the tournament area. They will have access. Wheel-Trans vehicles will have access to residences in Liberty Village and Spadina, Fort York. So that's not it's something that needs to be concerned about. Wheel-Trans will also have door-to-door access to Toronto Stadium via a lot just south of the stadium. So there will be paratransit drop-off in that sense. And FIFA Fan Fest as well along Fort York will have a drop-off and pickup point to access that. So that being said, we realize that mobility may be more of a challenge for residents in these areas during the tournament. And so in light of that, in May 2026, the TTC is going to mail a notice out to Liberty Village and Fort York residents outlining the planned service enhancements and adjustments that I just explained, including some of the temporary stop removals. But it will also detail the process for accessing Wheel-Trans for customers that may have mobility challenges who aren't already Wheel-Trans customers. And so those affected customers can complete a Wheel-Trans application. I've listed the following ways on here. There's an online form that you can access through the TTC website or type in portal.ttc.ca. There's a step-by-step video guide available in that same link to show you how to fill out that application. You can also download the application from that same website using a self-serve portal. And then you could email it in, you can fax it in, or you could mail as well. Any inquiries about any of this stuff, Wheel-Trans is happy to answer those questions. You can phone Wheel-Trans customer service at 416-393-4111 or by email at wtcs@ttc.ca. And again, they will be processing applications very quickly so that if you call in the same day and you have a trip that you're kind of wanting the next day, they will process that application as soon as possible to get you that service so that you still have access where you may have a mobility challenge because of the tournament. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. Appreciate that was an important piece of information. Okay, that is the formal part of the presentation done, and I'm just going to dive right into questions. So as I mentioned, a number of the questions have been grouped together based on their theme and their interest and duplication. And no surprise, Mike, I'm going to start with you about overall access and local access. I'm going to read out a bunch of questions because I think your answer will sort of be grouped into answering a bunch of them at the same time. So how will you police the local traffic only into Liberty? How will passes be distributed? Richard, you might have to jump in on some of this too. What will be the boundary for those eligible for the access pass? How are contractors going to access Liberty Village if you are only allowing people with passes into Liberty Village? Will local traffic restrictions within Fort York for non-match days be a bit more lax? 5 weeks of strict local access only, impacting visitors of locals, deliveries, rideshare contractors is a major inconvenience for this extended period of time, especially considering FIFA is only 22 of the 38 days.
Okay, so there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So let me just kind of, if you want to go back to the beginning, which is how will it be policed? So this is something that we are working with the police on. And so certainly on match days, there will be a much heavier presence of police in and around Liberty Village that will be looking for those passes. And, if you have a pass, you will get in right away. If you do not have a pass, but you should be in the area, you will be able to speak to the police who will be doing access control and explain the situation. And you should be able to still be allowed access. So it's not like if you don't have a pass, you're completely out of luck. The passes are really there to sort of speed up and facilitate faster entry into the areas that have the local access only restrictions. I'm going to let Richard talk a little bit about how they're going to be distributed and sort of who's eligible for them.
Yeah, so part of that distribution, it was on that slide where we're going to be working with condo boards, BIAs, community organizations to support that. for contractors or stuff like that, when they get to, as Mike kind of mentioned, when they get to that gate, if they're there for a purpose, such as, fixing heating or air conditioning, something along those lines, they'll be allowed to have access. They won't be stopped for that. And then we have an engagement strategy that we're going to be utilizing to actually hand out the passes. So again, through condo boards, through BIAs, through in-person distribution, we'll be able to make sure that we have enough channels that everyone can get one. Everyone that needs one can get one if they live within those affected areas. And again, I'll put my email in the chat. If you have any questions around that or there's any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can have communication that way. Also, you can also message Deputy Mayor Malik's office as well, and they'll support you with any of those needs as well. So
And
just
then-
putting my sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And then if I can just kind of go, I think, to the last part, Xenia, of the question, which was, about local access only on non-match days, especially in and around Fort York. This is something that we will continue to work with the Toronto Police on. Certainly, there will still be increased, presence in relation to the FIFA Fan Fest days. So we will still want to ensure that, we are restricting restricting it to local traffic only, but we will work together with the police on the actual management for those days. Was there anything else, Xenia, that I missed from that?
I'm not sure, but there was another question that came in. So while you're talking, I'm just going to add that on at the end here. So there was a question about wondering why there will be construction still going on in the area during the tournament. Your map indicated this, as this is beyond local access only closures.
I'm not sure where the map indicated construction going on. I think what we've said is what we are doing, and we've been working with a lot of the construction industry groups, is we've been talking about how for existing work zones, construction zones, they get to stay in place if they cannot remove off the roadway. But the expectation is that they are not actively doing construction activities on match days. For any new constructions sites that are being requested, we are imposing restrictions on anything new. So that, again, we're not adding to congestion by, introducing new construction sites, especially in and around the stadium area, in and around Liberty Village. We're being very strict on the introduction of new construction sites in and around the area.
Okay, Mike, I can't let you go yet. There's a couple of questions here. What day will Fleet Street West close? I'll let you answer that, and then I'll go to the next one.
So Fleet Street is going to close on May 18th, and it will be reopening approximately July 25th. It's just going to depend on how long it takes to sort of deconstruct. And I know there was a question about the exact location. The location is going to be between Garrison and Fort York Boulevard.
Okay. There's another one that says a sign has been installed at Lamport Stadium stating that the lot will be closed for 3 months beginning May 1st. Please clarify, and if that's not the case, can the sign please be removed? Any signage to keep vehicle traffic from attempting to use Queen's Quay to try to bypass traffic backups caused by road closure at Lakeshore Boulevard at Bathurst.
So in terms of the signage question, I think we'll take that one back and
Yeah, Mike, I can answer that one. So we're in communication with TPA, and an update will be coming shortly on that. So we're aware of the sign, and an update will be coming from TPA.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, this one is for TTC. How will, and I know we just talked about Wheel-Trans, so if this was addressed, please let me know. But I think there are some specifics here. How will Wheel-Trans times and schedules be adjusted so that people that use it, like myself, can get to appointments on time? What changes are being made on Queen West between Lansdowne and Bathurst? And why is the 63 being detoured? That's a line that takes us to the Green Line.
Okay, thank you for your questions. So great questions. The first one, the Wheel-Trans question about time. So how the Wheel-Trans scheduling system works is we're able to input information into it, which accounts for delays, issues, closures, and whatnot. So on the days when there are closures, when there's going to be traffic, the scheduling software at Wheel-Trans will be adjusted so that it does account for the extra time that it will take to access the area to do a pickup and drop off. So that will be accounted for in that way. And again, I think we've highlighted that Wheel-Trans will have access to these local access only areas, and we'll be able to still perform pickups and drop-offs in both communities. The second question, I guess, was on Queen West. There's no service enhancements planned along the Queen Street corridor, so there'll be nothing, changing in terms of TTC service along the Queen West corridor. And finally, the 63 Ossington bus, I think I clarified it, but one last thing I want to clarify is the planned diversion, if on egress for an hour or two, Strawn needs to be closed between East Liberty and King. The plan is to divert the car south on Jefferson, and then east on Liberty and north back on Atlantic to get back to King. So basically, the portion that it wouldn't serve would be that eastern portion. So if you were a resident that was in the area somewhere between Atlantic all the way over to Strawn, you would have to make your way to the corner of Atlantic and Liberty to catch this 63 Ossian bus. But again, I just want to just reiterate that is only for a potential couple-hour period for match day egress. If it is decided that they must, because of the crowds, that the city decides that they must close Strawn between King and East Liberty.
Thanks, Cameron. There's a follow-up question here, but I think, Mike, you may have mentioned this. There was a mention of a platform on Fleet Street. Can you speak to that a little bit more? What does it look like and its exact location?
I'm happy to answer that, Mike, if you want. So yeah, the exact location is between Strawn and Fort York Boulevard. That is going to be the main transit hub to access FIFA Fan Fest, and also at the eastern end to access Toronto Stadium. The platform will have a queuing system involved with it. The platform is built on top of Fleet Street itself, so the customers can access the right-of-way where the streetcars go directly from that platform. And we'll be able to line up 3 streetcars at the same time, which really helps us on egress to get people out quickly from that area. So again, in between Fort York and Strawn, the platform is built right on Fleet itself, so customers can directly access the right-of-way streetcar platform.
That's helpful. Thank you, Cameron. Sharon, this one is for you. It's regarding FanFest. So it says FanFest will happen 22 days continuously every single day. What are the operating hours, and will Fort York be brought into compliance with the Ontario Heritage Act?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So during the tournament period, so the tournament period is June 11th to July 19th, which I think is 30 some days. FanFest will be open 22 of those days. So we'll be going out with the specific dates and times in the announcement that's coming in a week or so, where we will be giving out the specific dates that we will be open and the times for each of those days. So not quite confirmed yet. And then in terms of heritage compliance, yes. So in fact, we've had some, we're having our heritage team here at the city come in and review our plans for FanFest and make sure that we are fully respecting the significance of the heritage site and the area that we were on, and we're making special accommodations to make sure that we maintain the site and leave it in good condition after. So we're working with our heritage colleagues here at the city to make sure we do that.
Thanks very much, Sharon. Next question is for MLS. What is MLS doing to ensure that short-term rental bylaws are enforced during the games?
All right, so happy to answer that. Thank you for the question. MLS has a very robust auditing and compliance unit, as well as a short-term rental enforcement unit. What we do is we monitor platforms to ensure that those that are appearing on the platforms have registered and have permits from the city to operate. Where we find that they do not, we inform the companies and they remove them from their platforms. We continue to, if the public becomes aware or suspects that there is a short-term rental operating without a license, again, calling 311 and informing us of that would assist in identifying it. But we are being very proactive with the platforms to ensure that those that are listed on it are licensed and to operate.
Thanks very much. Sharon, back to you. And I am reading this question verbatim. The legacy was incredibly underwhelming. 1 year from now, will there be any lasting legacy from the World Cup in the Fort York area?
Sure. So there are a number of legacy projects that we're working on across the city, including Fort York and the Liberty neighborhood. So there will be some elements that will remain after the tournament, but they may be sort of peppered throughout the city. We have plans for, and our legacy projects, I will say this, are a variety of things. Some of them we will be able to see and they'll be in our communities. Others are changes in the way that we're delivering major events in the city, from environmental and sustainability elements. So some will be very visible things that remain as a legacy. Some will be things that are more perhaps policy or event management related. Obviously, economic impact of hosting this event in our city is a huge legacy. So there are a number of legacy projects, and we did present to council. So we can share a list of the legacy projects that are in play with this group, if that's of interest to people.
Thanks, Sharon. Jonathan, Stephen, if I live in the restricted access areas, do the schedules of garbage and recycling pickup stay the same?
This one is Anthony with solid waste. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one here. Thanks for the question. We've done a full review of our collection schedules and compared those schedules to the games that are going to be hosted in Toronto. And based on our findings, there's one day, one of the scheduled games that will impact some of the multi-residential buildings in that lower Queen West area. So we are working through establishing contact with those buildings to ensure they're aware of potential delays in collection, in addition to a change in their schedule. As for any other scheduled curbside collection, there are no impacts anticipated at this time.
Okay, thank you. Sharon, I just saw a note from you about limited access. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I feel like I'm seeing a few messages about cars having no access to Liberty Village in Fort York. And I just, hopefully it has been clear for most folks that there will be limited access to which people in the neighborhood, as Richard mentioned, we're going to be doing our very, very best to ensure that residents in the neighborhood get a limited access pass for your car. Or for your vehicle, and there will be checkpoints that when some of our traffic agents or police officers see that access pass on your car, that will kind of be a way for you to get through without having to stop and hold up traffic. Other vehicles coming in for deliveries or work that needs to be done at a condo. I saw someone mentioning, contractors coming in and needing to do work at a condo building or getting into businesses. People will be allowed to have access, but they will then be stopped to say, what are you here for? The idea is to have people coming for very specific reasons, to visit people, to make deliveries, to get to businesses that are in the neighborhood, to sort of limit to that local traffic and having to do or conduct a business or meet people in that neighborhood versus people just coming kind of randomly into the neighborhood. So I hope that helps clarify some of that. There will be access for cars and people will get to, if you park in a building in the neighborhood, you will still be able to come and go. There might be a different route for you because of a road closure on a match day, etc. But cars will still be able to come and go from within the neighborhood who are local residents and doing business there. Hopefully that's helpful for some folks.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, Sharon, that also speaks to some of like what I started off the conversation about travel demand management, right? And about, potentially looking at different modes on match days, potentially at shifting travel on match days. Look, we know that, your lives continue and your lives are not sort of consumed necessarily by these matches, but this is part of the planning process that we want to get the information out to people so that they can proactively look at, hey, instead of having that contractor come on a match day, I can ask them to come the day before, the day after, where possible. And, it's going to be in many people's best interest to do that because they won't be fighting additional, restrictions that are going to be in place on those match days.
Thank you. Appreciate that information share there. Larry and or Barry, a number of questions in and around safety and security. So I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs and perhaps if you could answer them and maybe expand a little bit. I think that there's a desire for some information here. Please provide insights on safety and security with relation to police presence for crowd surges in the area, as well as first responders. Again, didn't hear anything on a safety plan, including first responders. That's concerning. Is there a representative that can speak to the plan on police and security?
President, yes. So hi, everybody. It's Inspector Barry O'Neill from the Toronto Police. Yep, we have a dedicated plan in place for your specific area to support during the obviously game days and non-game days. This is for the traffic portion of it. It's the most comprehensive traffic plan the Toronto Police have put involved with the number of resources that'll be out there to try and help keep people moving. And to reiterate Sharon's point, we absolutely will be facilitating people moving to and from their locations and getting people inside so that your lives are disrupted as little as possible. There will be slowdowns, that's inevitable, but we will still be facilitating the movements inside via Wheel-Trans, via Uber Eats, all those things so that your lives can still continue as they would. And then we do have dedicated assets that will be within those areas from a security perspective as well, not in relation to traffic management. That will be there specifically to manage crowds, the surges of crowds, and that goes for our partners in paramedics as well as fire. So we'll have dedicated assets in that area as well so that you can have quick response from that and you won't be a delay receiving any assistance from police if required or any of the other emergency services.
Thanks, Barry. So this is part Barry, I think part Mike. The question is, if the police have to monitor entrance at access points, will there be 2 lanes, one for people with a pass and people that need to discuss with someone to get in, concerned about the delay in sitting vehicles behind vehicles without a pass?
I think if you look at the space, there's some of the locations that we're doing this are just impossible to be able to afford 2 lanes to do that and still have traffic flowing. So some of those points are going to be along King Street. So to dedicate 2 lanes to one to pass through, one not to, for investigation purposes to ensure that people have the appropriate reason to be within the area, we're just not able to facilitate. Those ones with the passes, obviously, we will be extremely quick because we'll just wave you through because they're readily identifiable for us. The other ones are not extensive conversations. We will just be asking the folks where they're going, the address they're going to, and the purpose of that, and I'll be allowing people to go within that area. We're not going to be calling the resident to ensure that they've hired a contractor. Like, we're not getting into that level of investigation with it. It's just to ensure that people understand it is local access only. There should be a reason for them to be within there, and we'll expedite it as quick as possible so that those others that do have the passes can get in as quickly as possible as well without a little impediment as required.
Thanks, Barry. Jonathan, this is about additional washrooms. Will some portable washrooms be able to remain in the area of Liberty and Atlantic, the Green Pea Parquet? There's concern related to public behavior at past sport events at BMO and the use of the neighborhood as an open public restroom.
Would have to take that away because the scope of our current agreement would be for the length of the games to support the games, but we can take that away and see if there's an ability to do something like that.
Okay, thank you. Mike, regarding road closures, has the city reconsidered the full tournament shutdown of the west portion of Fort York Boulevard and Fleet Street between Lakeshore Boulevard? This concern has been raised in each session.
So again, to facilitate the Fleet Street Transit Hub, which is a key component, of this plan and the transit first approach, we need to build this platform, and that necessitates the closure of Fleet Street, the western portion of it, as well as the pedestrianization of the southern portion of Fort York Boulevard. So unfortunately, we've considered it. We're not able to change that plan.
Thank you. Another one, Mike, it's regarding electric car charging. Some of us with electric vehicles use nearby parking lots at Exhibition Place with chargers to charge our cars. Will those parking lots be closed?
Yes, my understanding is that all the parking lots within the exhibition will be a restricted area for the duration of the game time period.
Okay, so it looks like alternate options need to be covered there. I wonder if anybody is working on perhaps a list of alternate options for that we might be able to share in the future. Maybe take that away.
I think we can take that away, Xenia. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Barry or Larry, will TPS or first responders have a command post set up within the perimeter?
No, the perimeter, it won't be set up within the perimeter. There will be a command post managing this. It'll be a joint command post also managing Fort York itself. So we have a dedicated command post to the last mile area specifically in relation to traffic and the security within that footprint, as well as one dedicated to the actual Fan Fest itself. So they will be co-located in a different location.
Okay. The next statement that I'm reading out, not exactly who sure this is for. Hold on just 1 second. I'm concerned that not enough thought has been considered for areas that feed into Liberty Village and the center of the action. For example, Joe Schuster Way has historically absorbed the traffic from these events and deals with the overflow of pedestrians. Who can we speak to be considered as part of Liberty Village to ensure our residents have the ability to maintain their quality of life during the games? So you're speaking to the right people here. This is the group that is working on all of the pieces. Just wanted to know if anybody wanted to jump in on that part, I guess, based on, previous major events and how Joe Schuster Way has absorbed that traffic and how that was considered into the plans. Is that a Mike question or is that a...
I think I can start, and if anyone else would like to jump in, I think we're going to see impacts, in and around the area. And, one of the things when we consider these types of large events is what we call the last mile. And, we have to consider sort of where we have available resources and where sort of the key focus areas are. We will have, I think, a lot of police presence along King Street. We will have a lot of traffic agents along Queen Street. And so we will be very close in proximity to Joe Schuster Way. And I think it's something that while it's not considered as a local access only for the purposes of our planning, we will be kind of in that area and monitoring and hopefully we can respond, if there's significant concerns.
Yeah, just to add to that, from a policing perspective, to Mike's point, we have extended our footprint up to Queen Street, which is a little bit further north than obviously we had done in the past for certain events. Taking that into consideration that there is the overflow that happens along Joe Schuster. So there is going to be a presence up there to start that filtering a bit sooner to try and prevent that from happening.
Right. Mike, you might know the answer to this, but I think this is more of a Richard question. What if you don't live in Liberty Village, but need to drive into the village as a customer? For example, my child's daycare is located there, but I don't reside there.
Yeah, so I think Sharon kind of went through this. If you're going there for a purpose, there was questions around the nail salon. There was another question around kind of medical facilities or buildings within those spaces. You will be allowed in. Again, it's just really to deter people who do not have business or are not going in there for said purpose from going in. That's really what it's about, that we're not having cars continue to go through there. So yeah.
Thank you.
And I'll just to reiterate again, so everybody understands from a policing perspective, we will allow people in and access to this area when you have a purpose. So any of what purpose may be, if you go to a nail salon, if you have your children are dropped off, if you have an appointment, if you're going grocery shopping, you're still going to get access. There will be some questions asked as to where you're going potentially to try and get you in, to make sure that there's not someone just trying to drive through the area as a cut through to get somewhere else. So we will definitely be trying to facilitate you getting to where you need to get to and helping you get back out of the area. No matter what the reason for that may be, we will definitely try and facilitate that, but it is to prevent people trying to use it as a cut through and pass through in that specific area, to deter some additional traffic that doesn't need to then add to what's going to be already slowed down process within the Liberty area.
And there was another question, Xenia, around, I manage an office in the neighborhood. We have rented parking spaces within the public adjacent to our building. And if you would be able to get the access through the BIA, they would be able to support you with that, so that we could get you a pass so that you can continue to be able to drive into work. We are, promoting bike, walk, transit instead of cars. But if you really need to drive through, we'll be able to get you an access pass for that.
Thanks very much. Cameron, TTC, will the dedicated streetcar lane on Bathurst remain in place for the duration? This dedicated lane is already creating so much congestion.
So we are taking a transit first approach, as everyone's mentioned. So yes, the transit priority measures along Bathurst will remain in place for the tournament.
Okay. So as there are a number of questions, I think, that are related to safety and security, I suspect that we should probably, in our May session, the one that's going to come up on May 25th, that we will have some dedicated slides and more information on this. But I will ask you, Barry, there's someone who's asking to be a little bit more specific about what security assets might be in place in the area. There were a lot more details about traffic, but they're a little bit more concerned and interested in knowing about security presence.
Yeah, we don't actually release the numbers of our resources and deployments within specific areas. Those are operational details. There will be dedicated resources, multiple, to handle the anticipated crowd that we believe is going to be within the local area. We do have other resources that can be pulled into the area if there is crowd surge, if there's more than what we anticipate. But we won't get into specific numbers as to what we're going to be deploying within any area.
Thank you. It looks like there are a few questions that are related to shelters. But I don't know if we have one of our colleagues online who can answer that question. So what I'm going to do is we will take those questions and get the right answers, and make sure that we share them back with folks to ensure that we've got those answers, the right answers for you. Another question for Barry. What measures are being taken to mitigate risks of break-ins, thefts, and vandalism during the World Cup?
There's education pieces that are being put out in relation to communication from a safety security perspective. There'll be more to come with that, partnering with our city partners. We will have some patrols in and around the area, like I say, through heightened times, to ensure there will be significant heightened presence in and around that area during the key times where the crowds are going to be in place, and educational pieces that are, again, like I mentioned before, that are going to be advertised in information packages that we're going to be distributing.
Thank you.
Sorry, Xenia.
Yep.
Xenia, we do have Sue Goodfellow to answer the shelter questions.
Oh, okay, great.
Sue, I
Thanks.
just fixed your mic, and I believe you can pop on camera too if you want to.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you. Yeah, I'm sort of quietly listening. Thank you for the question. We are working very directly. I'm with Toronto Shelter and Support Services, and we are working directly with our shelters in the area. There are no plans to move our shelters. We are supporting them and creating contingency plans to operate business as usual. Obviously, the supports will probably increase on game days when there are more folks around, but we have met with them, and then we are continuing to engage and help them plan around those days.
Thank you, Sue.
No worries.
I know we've got a colleague here and a friend from Metrolinx. This question is for you, Kelly. Will there be additional buses, GO trains added to the schedule during this time? Will the GO trains still close on weekends for construction?
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for the question. Much like our TTC colleagues and our friends in the city, we're very much looking forward to welcoming multiple visitors to the region. There will be additional GO train services. We do have a website that you can learn more about all of the services that are coming. There is additional roughly 15-minute service on both the Lakeshore East and Lakeshore West line. Extra focus, obviously, on match days. We are going to have nearly a 30% service increase, about 3,000 weekly GO trips, extended up express hours, more GO connections, and more detailed schedules are going to be available on our website, as I told you. That's going to be on gotransit.com. So once we have more of those detailed service plans confirmed, they will be made public for easy searching for those residents and visitors who are looking to see how they can travel by GO.
Thanks very much, Kelly. Mike, back to you. Is Fort York Boulevard itself being closed fully or just local access only? And what day does this start?
So Fort York Boulevard will be from Angelique down to Lakeshore will be pedestrian only. And that will be in place starting May 18th until July 24th. And from east of Angelique, it will be local access only for that same duration.
Thanks very much, Mike. Okay, I'm just checking in with colleagues to see if there are any other big questions that we have missed. I do want to let everyone know that every single question and comment is being captured. This information is incredibly helpful to us in terms of making sure that when we're developing our communications materials, that these things are being addressed, that if we have not been able to answer a question, that we include it in our next presentation or that we get that information. All of the information that pertains specifically to a division and their work is shared with them for feedback as they continue to refine their plans and tweak their plans for the next couple of months. So all of this information and these questions have been incredibly valuable. So thank you very much for that. I've got one. It looks like, oh, Jonathan, do you have your hand up? Did you want to speak?
There's a few that I pulled out for waste that
Sure.
I can just answer quickly here.
Yeah.
So there was one on, I think it was Beaconsfield Village. So they were asking about engagement with them in regards to the portable toilets and waste. So if you can reach out to Richard and we can set something up for a discussion for Beaconsfield. There was another question on portable toilet locations. We do have a dot map developed. We're going to sit down with the supplier to validate. I don't see it being a problem once we validate that to share that with the wider group afterwards so everyone knows where these portable toilets will end up. And then there was one last question I saw about garbage graffiti pre-event cleaning. So there is some pre-event cleaning planned. Each of the city divisions are planning to manage their areas pre-event. I know solid waste is on the call. Anthony, maybe you can speak to that part of it.
Sure. We've made arrangements to bring in a significant number of additional seasonal resources, specifically to help support city cleanliness and city beautification in the weeks leading up to FIFA, certainly during FIFA, and several weeks post FIFA activities. Those efforts will include manual cleaning along our sidewalks and curb lanes, mechanical cleaning along those same areas, thorough laneway cleaning across the wider FIFA impacted area. In addition to enhanced servicing of our public space litter bins, which includes the Astro Media litter bins that are street side facing and our parks bins. So we have a pretty robust plan in place that we're confident that we'll have the resources, the people, and the plans down pat to ensure that city cleanliness is maintained pre, during, and post FIFA. And certainly if there's, specific areas that require additional attention, staff will be available to pivot, adjust, and shift those resources where required, when required, during this time.
Thanks very much, Anthony. Alex, this question is for you. I'm not sure if you're going to have the answer, but the question is out there. If the city is concerned about traffic in the area, then why was curbside or street side patios approved?
The Cafe TO program is a regular program approved by council at the City of Toronto. And while there are traffic considerations, the program is functioning as normal. There's a significant economic impact of the Cafe TO program. I do believe that it will be functioning on certain parts of King Street West and Queen Street West. But there are no Cafe TOs at the moment in Liberty Village or in City Place, Fort York, as far as I'm aware.
Thank you. Sharon, what is the capacity? We might have to take this one away. I don't know if you'll have the answer, but what is the capacity at FanFest? Could you install signage to give those waiting to get in a sense of how long the wait time is, so that if it is too long, they can make other plans or go to a local bar or restaurant in the area?
Sure. Right now, we're looking at capacity for FanFest to be around 20,000. And that, again, it is being confirmed. And signage, great idea. On the signage piece, we can certainly take that back. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think we've run through the most of our questions here. If we didn't capture yours for whatever reason, hopefully it was looped into another one, or if we missed it, our apologies. There's lots of ways for us to still connect and ask us questions and for us to give you those answers. So there will be a follow-up survey that goes out to everyone who attended. We would like to hear from you in terms of, what did we miss? What was helpful? A couple of other questions in there, and help us plan for our next session on May 25th, which we hope to see you at there with some updated information. Any concerns, any feedback, please share it in the survey. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to share the deck as well, so we hope that will be informative, and that you can look through that in a little bit more detail. So if any questions come out of that, please feel free to share that information with us as well. I want to thank all of those of you who spent your evening with us. I hope that you have more information in your hands that is helpful to you. I hope that as I know there are concerns, I hope you're a little bit more informed to manage those concerns, but also a little bit more excitement about what's to come in front of our doors in the next couple of months. And before I sign off, Deputy Mayor Malik, did you want to have any final words to close us out?
Yeah, thank you so much, Xenia, and I just want to echo the thanks to everyone who's joined us tonight. I've been diligently taking notes, and I know our teams have as well, to share these materials, to also share some of the very key questions, and also noting which questions have come up most frequently. That's an important piece for us to be taking away, to making sure that we are providing even more clarity in the planning and in how that's communicated, and to make sure that that's accessible to you wherever you are in the neighborhood. And I've also noted through the Q&A and the chat some of the advice and the expertise from your experience of knowing this neighborhood inside and out, that we need to take back and again have reflected in the continued work that we're doing to prepare for the games. I believe in the chat we've shared the link for the city's updates and the updates from my office as well. And as we said off the top, we will be on the ground in Liberty Village and Fort York as well. So look out for those opportunities through property management and in your buildings for us to continue to share this very important information, to make sure you have it, that we're as clear as possible about what the planning looks like, and most of all, that you're able to make the most of the opportunities and the excitement of this once in a lifetime hosting for the city of Toronto. The decision to host the games predates many of us. It does me. And what has been really important to me and a priority from the city is that we do make this a great experience for all of us. And my focus and my priority is our local communities. So thank you again to all of you, and we'll continue to work together to have the clarity, the accessibility, and the enjoyment of this experience.
Thanks so much, Deputy Mayor Malik. Much appreciated. And to my colleagues who shared a ton of information today and are available for questions, I appreciate you being here as well. Let's get started for the next one. And thank you all for joining us tonight. We will see you again soon.